head and neck. Okay, so, oh, y'all didn't cut the, so we need to cut away. Let me start with the glands, okay? So here, this is the parotid gland. Okay. As you move towards the front, this would be your submandibular gland. Both of these are salivary glands. And then right up here, if you still have that blood vessel coming up over here, kind of looks like this. It looks like the lymph node, but the lymph node would lie right about here. Okay, you don't have it in this cat. We need to open this cat up. Okay. 1 second. So we need to take his tongue, and we need to pull. We're going to cut until we see that little guy right there. Okay, see how it looks like a little baby tongue? Mm-hmm. Okay, that is the epiglottis. Okay. So you need to identify the tongue, the papilla, the epiglottis, which sits on top of the trachea. Right here, this is the throat. Okay, up in this region, that would be the nasal pharynx. This region right here would be the oral pharynx, and this opening right here, that's the opening to this esophagus, that is the laryngeal pharynx. Okay, as we move down the throat, right, let me clear some of this away. We're going to see the trachea that's in the throat. If you clear some of this connective tissue away, you can see that the trachea has that ribbed, kind of looks like a pipe. Okay, so it looks like in little sections. But right up here, okay, before we get into the trachea, see how it widens out? That is the larynx, and the larynx has two major cartilage. You have the thyroid cartilage. If you look right here, it kind of makes like a little V. This is the thyroid cartilage. Beneath that, that's the cricoid cartilage. Okay, so here's the trachea. If we move the trachea out of the way, back here, you see this hose-like structure. This is the esophagus. Okay. You can actually follow the esophagus back behind the heart, and it's going to plunge through the diaphragm to the stomach. Okay. But in the thoracic cavity, this membrane that you see right here, okay, this is the pleural. Turn the page. Okay. So this is the pleural. Parietal pleura. Okay, so this is the little membrane that lines the cavities. The visceral pleura lies right up on. It's the membrane that lies right up on the lungs. Okay, so here we have the lungs, right? So all these lobes right here. This is all lung. This is all lung. Okay, and so the heart lies in the middle of it. Okay, if we clear away, right, the adipose, you can see that there is a little layer. Okay. This is the pericardial sac. Okay. Right above the heart, in this region right here. We got to clear some of this connective tissue away. Actually, it looks like it might have already gotten cut away. Right up here, usually covering the veins, is the thymus gland. Okay, and so I don't see the thymus gland here, but it's very soft, and so it disintegrates. So the thymus gland would be right here. Okay, so as we move down, okay, let me see. This structure right here, see the strong structure that we see? Okay, this separates the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity. This is the diaphragm. Okay. From the diaphragm, okay, let me see, I need this part right here. So here's the other side of the diaphragm, okay. I want to cut it a little bit away so you can see it. So I'm going to cut the diaphragm here. Okay, so the diaphragm, you can see that it connects to the liver via this structure right here. This is the falciform ligament. Okay, so now we're in the abdominal cavity. Okay, so just like we saw here, we're going to have a pleura, and so this is the peritoneum. So this would be the parietal pleura that lines the cavity wall. Any of the organs has a membrane on it. That would be the visceral peritoneum. Okay. This big structure right here, that's your liver. If we separate the liver, okay, we will find, or we should find, a gallbladder in here somewhere. Okay, So separate it. It kind of looks like a little sac, and that's this guy right here. Okay. Usually it looks a little green, but this is your gallbladder. Okay. These guys are going to come together, and they're going to drain into the small intestines. And so the small intestines are here. So below the liver, we have this big sac right here. Okay, this is the stomach, and then it leads to the small intestine. Where the small intestines are, you're going to see a connection between the liver and the small intestine, and that's this guy right here. Okay, so that is the common bile duct. So back over here, where the esophagus has come down through the diaphragm, it connects to the stomach right here. That would be your cardiac sphincter that separates the esophagus from the stomach. We move through the stomach to the end of the stomach, right here, where the stomach and the small intestine meets. This is where your pyloric sphincter would be. Okay, hanging down from the stomach, that's this apron-like structure. That is the greater omentum. So as we move out of the stomach into the small intestine, the first section is the duodenum. Then we travel through the jejunum until we get to, let me get to the large intestines. This is the transition, okay? So right before you move into the large intestine, okay, this is the ileum. So again, small intestine is right out of the stomach, is the duodenum, then the jejunum, then the ileum. So from the ileum, you can see that that's the small intestine. Here's the large intestine. So this is the ileum. Starting the large intestine is the cecum. So right between the two is the ileocecal valve. Okay. Now, if you look at this, you have your, I gotta set this up right, okay, because it needs to, okay, so your small intestine sits on top of your large intestine. If we move them out of the way, here we've just started the large intestines. They go up, that would be the ascending colon. Okay, that's this one actually right here. Ascending colon, then it turns, that would be the hepatic flexure, and then it goes all the way across, right? That's the transverse colon, and then it turns. The turn is the splenic flexure because it lies right under the spleen, and then it descends, so that would be the descending colon. Right in front of the descending colon, where are you? It looks like, yeah, this is the bladder right there. See that little bag? And it actually feels like it has urine in it. Okay, so that's the bladder. Let me go back up to the top, okay? Before you move this greater omentum, this organ right here, that is the spleen. Okay. If you look, okay, lift up the greater omentum, see this organ right here, it travels all the way across to where we have the small intestine and the stomach. All this right here, that is your pancreas, and it's embedded in that mesentery. Okay? And the mesentery is this guy right here. That clear, you can see the blood vessels, that's the mesentery, and it holds on to the kidneys. Like I said, you can cut open the stomach and you can look at the rugae, but I'll leave that up to you. Okay. The kidney. Okay. I'm not going to cut the kidney open, but they're on the back wall. Okay. Y'all have done a pretty good job of clearing away the renal fascia. That's this tissue that connects the kidney to the back wall. If we clear it away, okay, right here where everything is going in or coming out of the kidney, this is called the renal hilum. Okay. When you cut the kidney open, you'll see that there is a layer of tissue right on it. That would be your renal capsule. You have the renal artery coming in. Okay, that's on top. The renal vein coming out. And then you have this guy right here, this white vessel. That's your ureter. You can follow the ureter all the way down, and it will eventually connect to the bladder. Okay. If you cut the kidney open, okay, cut it right open, right in half, the outer part will be the cortex. The inner part will be the medulla, and right where it converts to the ureter, that would be the pelvis, okay? The renal pelvis. That's it, guys.